Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to look at how we can work with a structure that's been comprised of members with sections coming from multiple steel databases. For a little bit of background, steel will require that all sections come from the same steel database in order to run them in a single design run. In order to get around this limitation, we're able to actually use a custom database writer to combine sections from multiple databases into a single design set where we don't have to worry about designing them in multiple batches. For a little bit more background, we have in this model sections comprised of our members from the Canadian and the Japanese section database. So all of them except for these green colored sections at the mid radius point here are from the Canadian database, and the green colored sections from the Japanese database. If I right click on the section properties tool, I can actually see how we can identify the section database each section has come from. By left clicking on it, we can see here the CISC database listed here. So this is for the Canadian sections, which comprise the majority of the sections we're working with. And for section number 3, the green colored section, I can see that it says Japanese, no surprise. I also have a few custom sections where I'm defining my own custom geometry and using those as well. And we don't have to worry about that for this particular exercise. Now I've already ran the analysis on this model, so I'm just going to go into SSteel and click on Build Steel Design Model. And I first want to introduce a symptom that will help you recognize if you need to consolidate multiple databases for this type of workflow. So if I just look at the side view of this model, here I can see that for the most part my members are rendered with this kind of green colored rendering. But I do see at the mid radius point where that Japanese section is from that I have this dashed black and white line. Now if I just switch to the 3D view and maybe zoom into one of these areas, I can see the dashed black and white line, and I can actually double click on it and I can get an explanation for why it's not accessible. So it's telling me member cannot be code-checked, section not found in section database, or section not supported by SSteel. I'm going to click OK, and I'm just going to verify. If I go to the options menu, design code, here I can see the steel database that SSteel is looking at. It's looking at the Canadian steel database, and this is the legacy database that I'm working with. And if I were to switch to the Japanese database, then I would be able to see those Japanese sections, but I wouldn't be able to see the Canadian sections. So I would have to run them kind of one at a time, so to speak, for this type of section arrangement. Or I could combine them into a single usable set. And that's done using a utility that comes included with SFrame called the Custom Database Writer. Here I can actually open this up. You can search for it within your Start menu in Windows. And what we can do is we can browse to our section databases we want to work with. And I'll start off with the Canadian Steel section database, the legacy database. This is the one that I'm working with here. I'll click Open. It's opening up that DAT file. And I can either grab all the sections from this database or a subset of those sections if I wanted to, and bring them over to my soon-to-be custom created database. So I'm just going to do this for the first couple here. I'm just going to grab just the rectangular, and I have a 178 by 178 by 8 section, which I can find right here. I'll move this one over. I have a circular section as well, so I can look for that one, and it's a 356 by 10 section. I can find that one right here. I'll move it over as well. And then I have a single angle section. And I can find that section right here. So I'm going to move it over again. And I brought all 3 sections from my Canadian Steel section database into this custom database. The next step would be to browse to our next database, which is a Japanese database. I'll click Open Database again and just repeat the process, but this time using the Japanese database. I can see all the sections that exist within that database, and I can filter it down to what I need. In this case here, I need a rectangular hollow section, and it is a 300 by 200 by 12 RHS section. So let me just browse till I find that. This one here, click Add to Selected. Now I've got these 4 sections in this custom database. Now obviously I could have a lot more than that, but for this example I'm just going to work with these 4. I'll then click on the Save Custom Database button. It's going to ask me to save this, and I'll just call this Canada plus Japanese, and we can use whatever name we like and whichever number we like. I'll just call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I don't have enough characters for all 6 there, but I'll click OK. And we can see that it's been written to this database location here. So if I just open this up, we'll be able to see our new section database there. And that is a mattest.dat file. So I'll click OK. And it is recommended at this point that we restart SFrame and SSteel just to reinitialize everything. So I'm going to do that now. And through the magic of video recording, I'm able to jump to the point where I've just restarted SFrame and SSteel after creating my new custom steel database. And what I can do now is I can go to the File menu, or the Options menu rather, Design Code, just like we saw before where we were pointing the Canadian section database. I'm now going to browse through this section database list here until I find the new one that I just created. And I can see it here, the Canada plus Japanese. I'll click OK. It's going to let me know here because we had previously set everything up with the Canadian steel section database. It's going to have to revise all of our design data, including our sections for study if those have been set, those sorts of things. So just click OK, because that's not a problem for me. And we can now see that all these sections are showing up as green. I'll just switch to the side view here. And I can clearly see that there's no more of those dashed lines on this mid-radius bracing or anywhere else in the structure for that matter. And I can code check these all within one run. So hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. If you'd like to hear more about steel design or analysis in SFrame, please check out our other playlists or other training courses on the Altair 1 Learning Center.